Yogi Triathlete just launched a brand new website. We have unrolled Squad. Squad is a virtual group coaching community like no other in the endurance sports space. We've got years of amazing content in there. Yoga for athletes, mobility classes, race course recons. We've got training plans from ultra marathons to Ironman, everything in between. We have a group coaching call every month. We have live streams, live classes, so much stuff in there, and a great community of people who are awake and ready. You will never have to train alone again with this virtual community. 7-day free trial. Get over there right now. Sign up for it. We'll see you in Squad. Namaste.
There would be no Ironman Arizona. There would be no this version of who I am now without Yogi Triathlete. And I don't think that there's two people like in my life that have had more of a impact on me as an adult. You know, like you think about when you're a kid, you got teachers, you have peers, whatever. But as an adult, I think it's such a unique thing to find mentors and people that you look up to. I just want you both to know that you two are hugely impactful on who I am, who I become, who I want to be. And being a part of Yogi Triathlete has surpassed all of my expectations.
Welcome to the Yogi Triathlete podcast, where we delve into the heart of endurance, the power of the mind, and the strength of community. I'm Jessica Gumkowski, your host, and today we are thrilled to continue our IMAZ First Timers series with another incredible athlete on Team Yogi Triathlete, Emma Santangelo. Emma is coached by our Master Coach BJ Gumkowski, who is also my co-host today and all days on this podcast. And she is gearing up for her first Ironman distance at IRONMAN Arizona. No stranger to the long course, Emma has already tackled 3 70.3 races, building the strength and resilience that have brought her to the precipice of her greatest endurance challenge yet. From the beginning of her triathlon journey, Emma has demonstrated a fierce commitment to pushing her limits and embracing the transformative power of the sport. Whether it's on the course or in life, she exemplifies the Yogi Triathlete spirit of balance, grit, and focus, all the while striving for something greater. Today, we dive into her journey as she prepares to take on her first full Ironman. Let's hear from Emma herself as she shares her experience, her lessons learned, and what lies ahead as she sets her sights on Ironman Arizona. Emma, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I'm happy to be here. I wish I walked into every room like that. It's like a movie, right? Yeah, like in my pocket.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you how much I would absolutely love that as a professional career?
You'd be exceptional at it.
Honoring people with intros.
It could be your real path.
I hope that happens. I really do. And then, I don't know what will happen with Yogi Triathlete, but I will be in every bathroom stall, every cocktail party, every board meeting, and every day.
I'm into it.
Emma, I don't even know where to start. I don't have a predetermined question, but I want to know, who is Emma Santangelo? Give us a little insight.
Yeah, gosh, that's a loaded question. Just a little bit about my background. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania called Hershey, Pennsylvania. I was lucky enough that I was raised by 2 loving parents that I think really set the path for me and really showed me the way and how to live a life that is focused on being a good person and giving back to those around me. I've got 2 brothers. I'm a middle child, but I'm an only girl. So I definitely got spoiled, I think, growing up. I think I got a lot of that attention just happening to be the only one, the only female in the family. But yeah, I've always been an athlete. I grew up swimming my entire life. I played pretty much every sport possible. I feel like that was like my MO. I played t-ball, I played basketball, I played softball, I was a swimmer, anything that I could do to be active and out with others in a competitive environment. I was all about it. And yeah, really just kind of held on to that identity. I swam my entire life and Yeah, I would say it's shaped me into the person I am today. That's a fact. Definitely taught me a lot about just discipline and determination and setting goals and just being the best that I can be. I think I'm definitely a type A type of person. I like to achieve. I think I'm an Enneagram 3, which is an achiever. I'm all about it. Like, let's put it on paper. Let's do what I have to do to get there. Blessing and a curse, I think, in being like that. Sometimes it's tough for me to slow down and take things in because I'm always on a go, go, go. But yeah, I think it's yielded positive for me and also been a challenge. But yeah, I mean, I'm out here on this endurance path, and it's taught me a ton. And I'm just trying to be somebody who I feel like gets better every single day and pushes myself in whatever way that is, whether that's physically, whether that's emotionally, whether that's being a better partner, being a better sister, being a better friend. We only live once, so I'm a big believer in do what you can while you're here and be the best that you can be.
In this journey for a triathlon, obviously, well, maybe those were intentions to, you know, be your best self. But what was your intention in pursuing like a big endurance event, like probably the pinnacle of endurance sports?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like I said, I had a swimming background, and I think like everyone, when COVID hit, we were all like, what are we doing and who are we and what do I care about? And life kind of slowed down. And I actually, of all things, read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. And I just had this, I actually remember vividly where I was reading the book in my partner Felicia's apartment in Oceanside. And I just had this like revelation of like, am I really tapping into my full potential? Like, am I able to, is there more that I could be doing in this life? And I had thought about the idea of doing a triathlon for a long time. I think like anything as an adult, sometimes you have a ton of fear when you think about starting something new and not really knowing what you're doing and being a newbie and like, am I going to be good at this? What are the things I'm going to have to do that feel new and make me feel uncomfortable? And I don't know. I had just like this flip of a switch when I read his book, and very shortly after that, BJ, you and I met up, and I really just wanted to push myself to do something. I feel like after I graduated college, I was very focused on work. I was like, went all in 100% to just being like, I wouldn't even say a workaholic, but I think it gave me a sense of purpose, and I liked knowing exactly what I needed to do to be good at something and going and doing it. And I wanted to detach from that a little bit. And I wanted to do something that, like allowed me to tap into a different thing. I wasn't a kid young that had like a ton of hobbies. Like I always played sports, and I was always jealous of my older brother. Like my older brother is like, this guy's like crazy. Like he was into like fish tanks, and he was into building computers, and he just had all these like insane cool hobbies, and I never felt like I had that. And I think for me, I wanted to do something physically that could be that hobby outside of work. And triathlon, for whatever reason, maybe because I had the swim piece down, at least I thought in my head, felt like a natural progression for me. And yeah, after I met with BJ, I was like, screw it. Let's do it. Let's sign up. Let's do it. Let's go out big. I think after that day we met, I signed up for the half Ironman, and I've just been on that journey since. And it has like completely changed, I feel like, the person that I am in a lot of ways.
So although you've been like an athlete your whole life, playing all these different things, now you have a sport that's more than one sport. Like in and of itself, it is multi-sport. So especially from your swimming background of just like staring at that black line, what is it about triathlon that you love so much, or is unique, like in a challenge for you, that as an achiever, you know, as much as we're like we love those challenges?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to answer it off the front, I think the reason I got into it is because I felt like I had one of the disciplines down. And as I've been in it longer, I think it's been really, really fun and cool to to become better, right? And become good at some of these other things. Like I would have never called myself a runner. That would have never been something that I'd be like, oh yeah, like I just didn't, it wasn't something that I ever really did. And I think one of the cool things about triathlon is the fact that there's multiple components to it, right? And like it even makes training for it more fun. I think about like if I was a marathon runner and all I did was run, like that might be kind of boring, you know, like just to run all the time. So I feel like one of the things I love about it is that you get to mix it up, right? Like you swim and you bike one day, you run and you swim the next day, whatever that looks like. It honestly helps keep things interesting. And I think it makes training just feel more enjoyable. And I think it's been really cool to see, you know, I have to be careful because I can't compare my swimming ability to when I was younger because I'm just never going to be as fast as I was. So I just kind of accept that. But from a running and a biking perspective, like it's been so neat to see just the consistency over the last 3 years and how much better I've gotten at those two disciplines, which for someone who is really competitive, like that's kind of one of those things that makes you want to keep doing it. Like how good can I get at these things? So yeah, I think that's kind of why I find it so interesting and so exciting. And, you know, you're able to, it's kind of neat to be able to do 3 different things in one event.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to add one more thing in there, and sort of like how we met with your partner being a yogi. How has yoga been involved in your training and in your relationship to keeping the body balanced and work and life? And yeah, tell us a little bit about your yoga influence.
Yeah, I feel like I got lucky because for a long time, my partner was teaching yoga. So I was able to like get into the hot studios and I could go for free. And I got in this like sweet little rhythm every Friday, every Tuesday, you know, I was hitting the yoga studio, which was super nice. But I think like training is hard on your body. Like it just is, right? Your body's just like put through the ringer, and having that fourth discipline of being able to spend some intentional time, like not moving forward, right? And just being with yourself and kind of almost like allowing yourself to rest in a way has been really impactful. And it just feels good, you know, like it just feels good to give your body permission to just like sit in poses and relax and open up your hips and, you know, stretch out your shoulders. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's a just with you guys and training with you, like it's become a natural part of this whole puzzle of endurance training. And I can't really imagine not having it be part of all of that. It's been a great 4th add, or I guess maybe 5 when you think about nutrition, but definitely a 4th add to the physical component.
As an achiever, another piece to Yogi Triathlete is, you know, we will recommend meditation, breath work, whatever you want to call it. But the common denominator is like sitting in stillness for whatever amount of time, 1 minute, 20 minutes, whatever it may be. And so with that practice, whatever it looks, I don't even know what your practice looks like, but whatever it looks like, what have you pulled out as a benefit? What has been the biggest challenge?
I would say that it's still sometimes a challenge for me, like just being very, like I get up and I'm the type of person that like instantly it's like, okay, here's what I have to do today. And like, what do I do that? And when do I get this in? And when do I do this? And how am I going to get, you know, so my mind like is challenging. So yeah, I mean, it's in the morning for me. And it helps me create a barrier between when that chaos starts, right? And allowing me to just sit with myself for a few minutes and figure out in some ways how I want to process the day, right? So it's definitely, I think, a piece that has allowed me to, from a training perspective, like it's funny, like endurance training is very it's very long. It's a lot of time in your mind. It's a lot of time by yourself. And I think the concept of mantras and being super positive to myself as I'm experiencing some training sessions where I just really don't want to move forward. It's so easy to quit, like it just is. Like, it's just so easy to say, like, I'm done. And I've had sessions where I've texted BJ and been like, I really don't want to do this run. I just don't want to do it, But I think the moments of silence that I give myself in the morning, the time to just sit in silence and be by myself, has allowed me and enabled me to, in those moments where I feel like I want to quit, to really ask myself, like, are you going to feel good after you quit? Why do you want to quit? So, I think another piece, a very interesting piece of the dynamic of yogi triathlete that I would have never, and it was not something that I ever did as a kid, even being in an endurance sport type, because swimming is very much, I think, endurance and very cardiovascular heavy. And that was never something that was ever talked about, as a kid. So it's definitely added a layer to this whole puzzle. Just the presence component is so, so important, and something I work on every single day.
I do recall, now that you mentioned that, it might have been more than once. Probably. Maybe out on a ride. Actually, last month or the month before that, I remember you had messaged me, should I go out on this run? I think it was out off the bike. And I was just so happened to stop my bike. And I just waited. And then you replied back and said, I'm already on it. I'm already in. I'm going. And you had that space. I don't know what the time was in that space. But to me, that when I see that, that is 100% the ability to manage the story that's showing up, the one that we can feed or the one that we can starve. And you've chosen that multiple times, not just on the bike and run. You've done it multiple times. Has that always been, well, I guess the meditation has helped you clear that out, but I want to translate it to work as well. Has that helped in your professional life? Creating the space between that stimulus and your response.
Yeah, I think meditation has allowed me in times of chaotic energy where I oftentimes would have just reacted or just done the easier thing, to reflect, to think about my options, and not to land on the easiest thing, and to land on the thing that I know is going to make me feel the best. And I think that applies to training. I think that applies to work. I think that applies to relationships, even just my relationship with my partner. Like, stuff is not easy. Like, and having the ability to sit with yourself, just for, even if it's just that extra second or 2 or 5, and land in the place that's better had you chosen just to react, I think I think that would be something that if, like, Fee were sitting right here, she would say, yeah, I think she would say that I'm getting better every day. And I think that's a huge testament to exactly this, just presence and sitting with thoughts and silence and all the things.
Shifting to training a little bit, which is, you've just done a spectacular job at trusting the process and allowing it to sort of immerse into your life, your work life and personal life. And you've had a move and potentially another move and lots of travel. How has it been to kind of manage it all, to maintain consistency and get something in while living a life that is not just, you just show up at the office from 9 to 5? Like, you've got a lot happening. How have you managed all that?
Another thing that's not easy. I think, like, when you look at the training, I always tell people, because everyone always asks, like, how do you do it all? And I think, like, one of the biggest lessons that has come out of choosing to take on something like what we all do is there's more time in the day than you think there is. Like, we do a lot of, like, oh, I can't, or I have too much going on. And even today I had a little bit of that feeling of, like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to get everything in. Like, I have this and I have this and I have this. Like, I got my run in, and I think you guys say it all the time, and I'm not perfect by any means, but you make time for the things you want to make time for. And training is and will probably continue to be, like, up there on the top of the list of the things that are important to me. And because of that, like, I figure it out. I feel lucky that I get to predominantly work from home, which creates an environment that allows me to fit things in when it makes sense for my schedule. But I mean, yeah, I have conversations with my partner all the time around it's like my plate is like work, training, and her. And the ratio of those things kind of move and ebb and flow depending on, what's going on. But like, I would say 90% of the time I figure it out because it's important to me, and it's really that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is that simple. It really is. We tend to overcomplicate things. And so as you've moved from half Ironman training to Ironman training, is there a huge jump, huge leap, huge difference in what you've been doing? Or has it been sort of, just flowing with the consistency?
I would say no. I think if everything else remained the same, no. I think to your point around, like, I have had we've traveled a lot. We're social. We have a lot of weddings. We've got friends in different places and trips. And my partner just got a job in Chicago. And so, I mean, life doesn't stop, right? Like, the pause button is never on, and it feels like life is in fast forward at all times. And I think that maybe the life part of this thing that I'm on, right, and this journey to Ironman has been a challenge. But I think in terms of like training volume and the way that I feel about training, it doesn't necessarily feel that much more, with the asterisk of I don't know what's to come in the next 2 months. So I'm just going to strap in for that.
Yeah, there's some stuff coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I already got that 7-hour ride on the calendar. So I know we're building to that.
Yeah, we did our interview with Laura the other day, and who will launch before you. And off the mic, we were talking. I don't think this was when we were recording, but I was like, "You're about to enter the tunnel, and the tunnel where you can't see where you began and you can't see the end." But it's like, I think you guys all together, getting into this tunnel together, even though it may feel isolating, to not forget that you've got these teammates who are doing the same thing. There's something about it. And this is totally mindset, right? Like, that's so exciting about being, it's like you're too far in to turn back, and you just got to keep going. But I guess where this is just organically leading is just this power of community. And to know that over these next few months, 9 weeks, I think, that you can pull upon the fact that, Brendan's going to be in that tunnel, Laura's in the tunnel, Melissa's in the tunnel, Patrick's in the tunnel, you're in the tunnel. We're right there in it too, with you guys. How does that weigh into your ability to execute and really feel supported and throughout this process, knowing that you've got not only just these guys who are also first timers, but the entire community of Yogi Triathlete, like, by your side?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I will be the first to admit that I have not done a great job of building community in this sport here in Denver, and it sometimes feels challenging. And I think knowing that through Yogi Triathlete, that there are other like-minded individuals on this path, whether they're, my next door neighbor or live in another state or in another time zone, like, it's extremely comforting. And it's nice because I feel like we've built, you guys, not me, you've built a community that has enabled, I follow, everyone on social media, like everyone on Strava, like even something as simple as that, right? And like commenting on each other's stuff. Like, Melissa's always commenting on, my Strava workouts or my Instagram posts, and same thing with Brendan. And I'm trying to do the same. And like, it does create an environment that makes you feel, massively supported. And that's huge in this. Like, yeah, you want support from your partner, and yeah, you want support from your family, but like, support from the people that are in the trenches doing the same thing as you are is extremely important, and helps make the whole process feel like you're not alone. Like, I'm looking forward to, and think I said this on the last podcast, but like, I'm looking forward to, being at mile 17 on the run when I know I'm going to want to just lay on the ground and not move forward, and seeing, everyone out in their kits out there, like, that's what it's all about. Like, that feels good to feel the people that that are in the trenches with you on the same team. So I'm jazzed about that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's extremely important, and kudos to you guys for creating the community that's made it all possible.
Thank you. Now, as a swimmer, and this kind of goes to both of you, BJ, I'll have you lead in on this. So Emma's a swimmer, and in order for her to do a half Ironman, which was her first triathlon, love that, and now an Ironman, which she's past it at this point, but she didn't have a body that was used to the impact of running. So I think this was kind of a cool discovery process for you, and maybe even a challenge as a coach to be like, oh gosh, I've got this person coming into triathlon. I need to get her to be a runner, but I also need her to stay healthy. How did that all come together? How did you begin to work with that, and how has it evolved?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as I now coach more swimmers who come from swimming backgrounds, and it's amazing. I think I shared this with you first, the endurance, capacity that swimmers have. I'm getting chills. I wish I had swim when I was younger.
Those are jealous chills.
Yeah, jealous chills. To have that capacity for endurance, the lungs, their lung capacity. And then you shift to running, and it's whoa, wait a minute. This is totally different. And there's an impact that does happen because the water is mostly supporting you, and you don't really have an impact on the legs or the joints or the bones. So it takes time. And I think for someone who is motivated and determined, to start running and be whoa, I want to hit some paces, some intervals, that needs to take a back seat to the development of you as a runner. Because I think, as we experienced in Oceanside, not to the detriment of what we were doing, it's just the way that it happened. I think you had some challenges leading into that Oceanside race, and we had to dial things back, and we had to walk, and then it was a run walk all the way until you could get to the point of running, which I think was race day was might have been your longest run at Oceanside, but only to come back 3 years and see now look at you running. You're running up to 2 hours. You're doing, fast intervals in the 7-minute range. You're clicking off the miles, but it is a process that has to happen. So yeah, what was, take us back to that moment, maybe the mind being refusing or frustrated that, no, I don't want to do this way. And also the understanding that there's a bigger purpose here.
I actually can vividly remember, BJ, being at Camp Coffee the day that I met you. And for about 5 minutes, when I had decided that I was thinking that I might do this race, I had this virtual coach who I found through Ironman Association. And I honestly don't really remember her name, but she had me do a 30-minute run test. And it was run as fast as you can for 30 minutes and, document your time. And that's where your starting point is. And I ran out on the 101, and I think and again, you compare your fitness at any point in time to a prior version of yourself, at the fittest I'd ever been at 18 years old, whatever. You kind of do this comparison. And I remember saying to you, I don't understand why my heart rate is so high and my paces are so not, they're so low. And it's well, that's because you're not run fit. You don't run. And you got to reassess where you're at and your barometer of your, where you are today. But yeah, I mean, I think running has been humbling for me. I feel I was always somebody who was average or above average at most things. And I feel running, that was just not the case. Felt I was very below average. I just felt oh, I just don't have the body for this. I'm too hippie, or I don't know, insert all the things here that women say about their bodies that prevent them from being good runners. And I think it was a challenge totally for me. I can remember how good it felt over the 12 weeks or whatever leading into Oceanside to start to feel my body make a lot of progress. Because I will say, even though I had the lower back, gosh, I even almost forgot about the lower back pain and stuff I was going through going into that race. But despite that, I think I had seen the evidence in the work that I was getting faster. And that feels good, like talk about being type A and being, competitive. Like it feels good to see yourself, put the work in and get the results. So yeah, I think definitely a challenge. Definitely did not feel good to have to walk leading into that race. And you're right, I had never run a half marathon. I don't think I'd ever run more than 9 miles or 10 miles, maybe max, leading into that race. And was able to do it just fine. And now I feel like, I think there was a question on the last podcast that you had us on, like, what's your go-to workout? And like, now I'm like into the long runs, like I like the running. It feels good. It's fun to see the progress. When I moved to Denver, I remember feeling like, damn, running here is so much harder than running at sea level. It still is. Sometimes still sucks. But yeah, I think it's been actually one of the more rewarding things because, like I said, like the swimming comes relatively easily, and I haven't seen myself like improve that much or get that much worse. Like I kind of am where I am. But the run has been super rewarding and exciting just to sit in patience with it and just trust the workouts and do the workouts and get the results.
Well, it's sort of like swimming, right? You just got to do the reps. You got to do the reps. You got to do the reps. And what we most often work with is the other way, with triathletes. Because swim is not their forte. It's usually, biking or running or some sort of cross country or track. So it's really cool to work the other way from swimming to what you're experiencing. And your health as a runner and triathlete has been phenomenal. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Little nick here and there, but other than that.
Yeah. And I think that really is a testament to you taking ownership of the little things, the yoga, staying consistent, dialing back sessions when you need to, and pushing when you feel good. And I think the whole formula comes together and it produces like, oh, okay, like this really is the formula. This is it. Like I connect with this. And so now going into Ironman, the swim is going to be twice as long as what you've experienced. Do you have any swirliness around just the 2.4 mile swim?
Oddly, I feel the most intimidated by the swim, and I have no idea why. I don't know where it comes from. It feels and sounds, for someone who's been in the swimming world for so long, like such a far distance to go, that there's something that just feels terrifying about it. And I probably could do a better job, and that's neither here nor there, but of swimming in open water. And swimming in open water is very different than swimming in a pool. I think tomorrow I could get in the pool and I could swim the Ironman distance without even, thinking twice. But the thought of doing it in the race, in the wetsuit, with the hype of the day and I would be lying if I said I wasn't, I don't want to say concerned, but definitely, like a little nervous, a little excited, but it's no joke. That's not a short distance to swim. I mean, that's a freaking swim.
What was, just for a framework, like what was your event in swimming when you were younger?
So I was a backstroker. When I was really young, I swam breaststroke and butterfly. And then I just think like my body changed, and I don't know, you just kind of ebb and flow with different strokes. But I swam 100 and 200 backstroke and 200 and 400 IM.
Okay. So you're versed in pretty much all the strokes, but backstroke was never
a freestyler though. So interestingly, I had really bad left shoulder issues swimming, and I would oftentimes, the reason I became a backstroker is because sometimes I could hit the backstroke time sets or the strokes, the sets where we were doing freestyle on my back. And so I became a better backstroker because my shoulder gave me so much pain, and I was not allowed to sit on walls. That was not accepted at my high school swimming program. So,
what's sit on walls? What is that? Just hang?
Sit on them. Like I wasn't allowed to like just sit on the wall and, let everybody pass me because my shoulder hurt. Like I had to be doing something. Yeah. So I swam backstroke because it didn't hurt my shoulder. It alleviated the pain in my shoulder. So I became a backstroker in high school.
Well, hopefully there won't be any backstroking at IRONMAN Arizona. It'll be really tough to see.
Yes.
But you'll get through that swim, and I think you'll be surprised. I really do. Once you get into the environment and the energy, you'll get into, robot mode, or basically just focus mode, and get that done. But what about the 112 miles?
I mean, listen, none of it sounds easy. Let's just call it what it is. There's not one where I'm like, oh, thank God, I finally have an easy one, 112 miles on the bike. Yeah, I can't really think about it. I think it's funny because whenever anyone asks me the distance, like they're like, oh my God, it's like biking from here to the Wyoming border. I'm like, yeah, that is, I guess when you put it that way, like that is a long way. I think it'll probably be the longest I ride. I don't know. Maybe I'll ride 100 miles. Maybe I'll ride a little bit more than that. But the thought of sitting on the bike for that long, like definitely feels a little daunting. But I don't know why that's not the piece that I'm super hung up on. And I would say of the three disciplines, I probably feel the least comfortable on a bike than I do running or swimming, or of all three of them. So I don't know what that is. I don't know why I feel like I have that relationship with the swim and with the bike. Try not to have any expectation, but yeah.
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss when it comes to your first Ironman, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
And then have you tried to metabolize at all to any degree? Like, okay, and then, so after I ride my bike to the Wyoming border, I'm going to run a marathon.
Would be lying if I said I hadn't thought about it, right? I think about it all the time. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I didn't run a half marathon before I did a half Ironman. And I have no intention. I said something to BJ about it, like, should I run a full marathon? And then the more I think about it, I'm like, I don't want to know what that feels like by itself, let alone after the other two components. But it's all so daunting. But when I put it all together and I think about a 12 or 13 or 14 or however long it takes me day, like, what else am I doing for 12 or 13 or 14 hours a day? 12 or 13, 14 hours a day, like, passes like nothing, So yes, it's daunting, and yes, all of them feel very long. But the beauty, back to your original question about triathlon, is that you get to switch it up, right? Every, move around, and you swim, and then you bike, and then you run. And there's something that's really nice about that, knowing that you get to switch from one to the other, even though you're still, feel terrible.
Why are you Ironman material?
That's a great question. I think because I am somebody who, regardless of the challenge or the thing in front of me, like, if I want it bad enough, like, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to figure out how to get there. And I feel blessed that I have people in my corner who support me in doing that. But I think it really comes down to the fact that I know I can do it. And I think believing that you can do it is 80% of it. I mean, obviously you got to do the training, and you got to be, prepared physically on race day. But yeah, I think I'm just somebody who if I want something, I'm going to go after it, and I'm going to get it. And that's what I'm going to do on November 17th. And it might not be pretty, but I'm going to cross that line, and it's going to feel really good.
What does your support system and community think about this? I know you've been home a few times, and I know they're all coming out to watch the race.
Yeah.
What do you think about Emma?
I think someone made a comment about ignorance is bliss being you did, Jess, about, it being your first one. I think there's a little bit of that in my community. Like, even our circle of friends, like, you tell someone you're doing an Ironman, and like, it's like, they can't even really comprehend all of it. Like, they just don't even know. They don't even know what to say. Like you tell them that, they're like, well, so how long is it? It's like, oh, well, it's 2.5 miles of swimming and 112 miles on the bike and a marathon. They're like, dude, what? Are you insane? But I think every one of my friends, like I have kind of, in some regards, have to say no to things, and people understand, and people are okay with that. And, they know that this is something that matters to me. And I feel lucky that I have that. And I think, as you get older, like your partner is your main kind of support system. And I feel lucky that I don't think it was always this way in the beginning. I think we butt heads a little bit on just my commitment to doing this thing that takes a lot of time away from her and, stuff that we can do. But I think we've turned a leaf, and she's gotten to the point where, she's completely supportive. She gets it. If I needed something during a training ride on a Saturday, she'd drive out and meet. She's just fully on board. And same with my family. I don't really think anyone has to get it. They just have to accept it, and be okay with that's the thing that works for me right now. So I feel really lucky. I'm super pumped on in Arizona. I'm going to have a big group of people out there, which will be really nice. My parents are coming. My brother's coming. His girlfriend's coming. He'll obviously be there. I've got some friends from Denver. So I feel like it's a huge thing that I'm definitely grateful for, that I have a community of people that, have been and will continue to be behind me in whatever it is that I choose to do.
And those people that will be there, including us too, like the yoga triathlete community, like you're gonna need that. Like that is so. I've done quite a few of these, and the ability to have people there. I've done them by myself, and I've done them with people I know there, and there's a difference. There's a draw. There's a pull. There's a responsibility to show up for them. So it's something that's greater than you, and you're going to need to pull upon that and see many people out there on that run when it gets real. But it's so wonderful that you have so many people like supporting you. I think that's a very key part of your success on race day. A big part of your success on race day.
Yeah, I think I was hesitant almost in the beginning to ask people to be a part of it, because I was like, what if I fail, or like I quit, or I don't know, something happens and I have to. And then I was like, no, like not only do I want those people there, but they're going to help me get to the finish line. And I know that, especially with a course like Arizona, like it's super spectator friendly. Same thing with Oceanside. Like the first one I did, I can remember, gosh, it was probably like mile 9 or 10. I just was like, I just can't finish. I just can't go on. And I remember seeing Fee and like being like, you just got to run with me for like 20 seconds. Like, I just need you to be by my side for 20 seconds. She was like, you got this. So I think that's going to be huge on the day of. And just like, for as happy as I'm going to be, I know all those people are going to be super happy for me as well.
Yeah.
Well, you have two, you can feed either side. And the default for our society is to feed the, well, what if I don't finish and I have all these people there and I feel guilty? But you made the switch. And this is what we need to feed more of. We need to feed more of the possibility, and also the firm belief that you have in yourself that you're going to accomplish this. That's what we need to feed more of. That's what we want to see in this world of endurance sports. Like feed that possibility, and then see what happens from it. And don't dim our lights and like, what if this doesn't happen? Like we're all human. We all have those moments, but you just expressed the ability to shift that. And so, I really want to focus on that, because man, we can go so easily the other way and down that path. But this is a more bright, lightful path that I think we need to focus on.
Oh yeah. I would never plan on not finishing.
Yeah.
That would not be a mindset that I would encourage. Absolutely. Visualize that finish line. Have you done anything like that? Any visualization of the race or the finish line or the feeling?
I would say I haven't like sat down and like dedicated the time, but I will say I have a lot of moments where I can feel the way I'm going to feel, and I can see myself crossing the finish line. And I think that is like, I'm like, no one can see me, but I'm like smiling ear to ear. Like that is what I think like pushes me and excites me and like motivates me. But I haven't done like any like formal, sit down and like really picture it. But I do have moments of that for sure. And that helps me get there.
Yeah.
How are you? I know we talked about this the other day too, and I think it's good for first timers. How are you dialing in your nutrition?
Oh, I was just going to ask the same thing
for Ironman, because it's as we're discovering, you're reacting differently to what maybe you would do in a half.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, of all the things, it's maybe the most challenging, or requires the most work without thinking it's going to require work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, like innately, like, okay, I'm doing something for 13 hours. Like, of course I need to fuel and feed my body, but the actual practice of doing it, like sometimes I don't want to consume on the bike. Sometimes I don't want to drink 5 water bottles. Sometimes I don't want to do those things, but I'm realizing, I think you can, in a way, probably shouldn't, but there's a little bit of being able to get away with it in a half. Like, if you don't fully lock in, or if you don't finish that half of a water bottle, or you only have half of a gel on a run, whatever it is, I just don't think that that's an option in the full. And I've noticed it, and I've experienced it, and I'm still tweaking it and trying to figure out what works for me. And I'm not trying to get super, negatively affected by it. Like, it is what it is. It's part of this whole process. I've had a couple shitty runs off the bike because I probably didn't nail what I should have done on the bike. And it just can't happen on race day. Like, if you want to cross that finish line, like, you got to figure it out. So yeah, I think that's been like the biggest, one of our last one-on-ones, Beach, just like the big thing I think that we were focusing on. And I got a big ride this weekend, and like, I got to nail my nutrition, and it's just practice. And some things work for your stomach and some things don't. And you got to test it and figure out what sits well. And it's the fourth or fifth, if you think about yoga and meditation, but it's the other piece of this whole thing that becomes so immensely important in Ironman training. And I'm realizing that, and I'm victim to it.
Well, yeah. Well, it's also like, don't wait for the week before the race to dial it in. Like, we've been working on this for a while, and this is why you start early, dialing in, like, and be diligent with those long rides in the weekend. And you touched upon, it's so easy to go for a 4 or 5 hour ride and just sort of like, hang out and just stop at a store and like have an enjoyable experience. But there's also something to like, be diligent in what you're going to use on race day to see how it feels. Yeah. Also, keep in mind, you're at elevation and in a super dry climate in where you're training, and it's been really hot. So Arizona is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be dry, but it's probably going to be really cool in the morning, and then maybe warm up in the afternoon, and then it's going to get cold again. So, because you're in the desert, so there's like, you've got the double whammy. You're sort of like trying to figure out how to get through your workout at elevation, but also, what is that going to feel like in Arizona, which you don't know yet, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather over prepare and prepare myself for these conditions and hold back, because it's not as intense in Arizona. Intense might not be the right word. It's not as hot or as dry or as high, in elevation. But yeah, I mean, you gotta do the work in training, because you can't be trying to figure it out the day of. I mean, I got no interest in that. I don't want to get there, spend all this time training, and then have the reason that I can't execute on race day be because I didn't put the time in, right, to figure it out. So it's just so important. And it's a big difference, I will say, between the half and the full. And I'm realizing that.
It is. It's not just double.
The three things that will keep you away from success on race day is the proper pacing, or the things to focus on: proper pacing, nutrition, and mindset.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with like training, like, I need to do like these 800. It doesn't. When it comes to race day, you got to be mentally engaged. You have to be fueling the body, and you got to pace appropriately and not get caught up in the swing of the event. So yeah, you're dialing that in, and nutrition will come. We're doing something, so that'll come.
Yeah. The pacing is so big. Like, the nutrition you have, total control over, but the pacing, you're going to see, pacing is not something that people are mastering out there. And so you're going to have a lot of impulse to go faster, and you just got to put the blinders on and stick to the plan. And then you're just going to reel it in. I mean, that's the best thing on the run. You just go fishing, you just reel them in.
But it's hard.
Yeah. I mean,
you're going to be out of the water relatively early. So you're going to be having people will certainly be passing you on the bike.
Totally. And I feel that in halves too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like working with that, like, okay, go. Like, I'm not racing you. I'm racing me. I've got to stick to the plan. I know I have a marathon to run to this bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's going to be challenging, but I think, go off feel. And I think that's going to be important. And I feel like I've been doing this now a long time that I kind of know how I feel like I'm pushing too hard. I probably am. That's going to be big on race day.
Mm. Who do you want to be on race day? Like, how do you want to show up?
I think I want to be an example for, I try not to get emotional, for everyone who I feel like is going out of their way to support me. I mean, I think that I'm doing this for me, right? Like, this is a very self-serving thing to go out there and push yourself and cross the finish line and do an Ironman and to even think about doing something that big. But I think what gives me, honestly, maybe even more joy than knowing that I did it for me is how proud I feel like the people that are going to be there are going to feel. Like, I remember the first half I did, my dad was like in full tears, and I was like, that is just like, and same with my mom, not just my dad, but it just is like, who sees their dad cry? You know, like, that's like such a rare thing. I never see my dad cry. So I think, I think I want to be someone who like makes the people around me proud and is an example to people who are teetering with like, should I do this thing or should I not do this thing? Like, you can do the thing, you know, you can, whatever the thing is, like, you can do it. You just have to put your mind to it, and it has to be a priority, and you have to commit to doing it, and you have to be okay with the sacrifices that come with choosing to do it. And yeah, I just want to be like an elevated, better version of myself that has an extremely positive and fruitful impact on all of the people in my community.
Yeah, we'll be setting the example. It is a selfish, self-serving endeavor, but it is giving permission for people that they can pursue something that is out of their comfort zone if they wish. They don't have to, shy away from it because the evidence says it's not possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I challenge that. I challenge this whole triathlon is selfish thing because I think who you are and how you show up benefits the people around you. And like you were saying, I mean, like living the demonstration, but that's just something we've heard for so many years, right? Like triathlon's a selfish sport, but it's like who you're going to be on the other side. You'll never be the same again. Like when you get to the other side of every obstacle that you're going to hit that day, because you're going to hit some obstacles. Sidebar, have you had her watch Iceman?
Not yet. I sent it to Brendan, but I'll send it to you.
She needs to watch Iceman. Anyone who's listening to this, watch Iceman. It's on YouTube. I think that who you are, you're going to just bring a different, like a heightened energy. And that's what the world needs, And so, yeah, it is like there is 100% that feeling of like, get out of my way, people. Like, I'm doing an Ironman today, and enjoy that. Enjoy that, to be on the inside of those fences is such an awesome feeling. But I think it's more than that. It's bigger than that. Like who you become in the process, who you are now, who you're going to be in 9 weeks, and who you're going to be on the other side. Like it's just something that nobody will ever be able to take away from you. And the inspiration and the energy that you can bring to other people's lives because of it is, well, I think Yogi Triathlete is a living example of that. Like, is immeasurable, but there's a lot of like asking and like, oh, I've got to do this. I know you want to do this thing, but I have a 7-hour ride. Like there's a lot of that in between, which is granting yourself the love to pursue something that is, something that you can't deny and you have to fulfill.
Yeah, I think that self-love piece, that's really what it is. Like that, this is important to me right now, and I'm going to honor that. And that's loving myself, and that's okay. And the people that are in your corner and who are supportive of you and who want what's best for you, like they should be okay with that, So just a way to weed out those who should stay and those who should go also.
That is a proper use of should. You should stay and you should go now. Yeah. I mean, I always say like they're either going to follow or they're going to fall away, and be okay with both. But you keep moving forward with purpose in your life that makes your heart full, because even despite all the challenges that you're going to face between now and, the finish line, because those challenges are going nowhere, but being on the other side of that finish line, it's like you just have a stronger resolve for walking through life.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a peak experience in my life thus far. That is a fact.
Yeah. Top 5 feel.
Top 5 feel. I want to come back to, as we wrap this up, I want to, you're going to listen to this after you cross the finish line. You're going to come back and revisit it. Like, when you have that moment, and you will have that moment on the run, and you're just like, mile 15, you're walking to the aid station and you're like, I'm done. Like, what is the thing that will pull you forward? What is something, like, put yourself in that moment and then capture some sort of word or mantra or person or something that is going to pull you through to finish?
I think just like keep going. Like, you're here, you're 100 and I don't know the math, if at 15 mile, 160 miles into this thing, like or 130 miles into this thing, like keep going. Like, you're capable, like you choose, you get to decide if you keep going. Like, promise you your body's not going to like just give out on you. Like, so I think, just keep going. Like,
okay.
That would be it.
Great. We'll make some signs. I
was actually going to write it on my, my shoes, my cycling shoes. Keep going on the little straps. That was actually, I thought about that already.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And the bike is all about the exceptional moment when you get off the bike.
Yeah.
Like, you ride 112 miles just to get off the bike.
Yeah, right.
It's the best.
And then you start the run and you're like, yay. And then you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be so good.
I think that will be like a peak, or like a very clear difference between the half and the full. Is I'm fully aware, I think, actually I have no clue, but I think I'm aware of how many moments I'm going to have that I'm going to feel mentally conflicted. And I just did Oregon back in July. And I can say that maybe once I had a feeling of like, God, why do I do this? And maybe once during that race. And I know there's going to be more of those in the full. And it just is like, that's a whole nother piece to all of this. So, how do you get through that? And I know it's going to show up in a lot more ways, more frequently in the full.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have many moments where I'm starting to swim and it's like 100 strokes in and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm done. But you keep going. I love that. Just keep going. I think that's
and
beautiful.
those are those super tough moments, those super hard moments, those moments where the body is just, you're tired. Like, there's an exhaustion level that comes through. Those are the exact moments when we're sitting at Cartel Coffee the next day, eating those amazing poblano pepper burritos that you're going to be laughing about and saying how much fun you were having.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that you're going to speak about. Those are the moments that shape you into this heightened version of who you are.
Yeah. It's going to be iconic. That is for sure.
It is. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this fantastic conversation. Thank you for sharing, for being open, for spending your time with us. We really appreciate you being a part of this series. And I personally love you so much and BJ just cannot wait for this celebration day and everything that goes along between now and then and the next time I get to see you.
If I can just say one final departing comment, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that there would be no Ironman Arizona. There would be no this version of who I am now without Yogi Triathlete. And it's funny, when I was in Canada after Oregon, I said to my parents, like, I don't think that there's two people like in my life that have had more of a impact on me as an adult. You know, like you think about when you're a kid, you got teachers, you have peers, whatever. But as an adult, I think it's such a unique thing to find mentors and people that you look up to. And I just want you both to know that. And I mean this, like you two are hugely impactful on who I am, who I become, who I want to be. And being a part of Yogi Triathlete has been, it has surpassed all of my expectations. So thank you for building the community that you have and letting me be a part of it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Let me wipe my eyes.
Yeah, I know it's tough.
And we'll keep going. Like that's been our mantra for 8 years. Keep going, keep going,
right there
keep going.
Is the fuel. That's the fuel. Keep going.
That'll fuel us. That's probably like another 4 years of fuel.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being open to all this. And
oh my gosh,
it's an absolute joy and honor to work with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emma.